A loon, a caribou, and a beaver reflect our currency as a country. Big open spaces, wilderness, all that's historically attractive. But Canada today, we're urban, very urban. 8 out of every 10 Canadians live in cities, work amongst tall buildings, and rage at traffic jams. Cities define us, yep, they're big. Toronto is the 4th largest in North America, and the fastest growing now are cities in Saskatchewan and Alberta. Inside the political theater, cities should be the strong men, but fiscally, they're weaklings. Richard Florida, urban thinker and head of the Martin Prosperity Centre at University of Toronto, says Canadians undervalue our cities.
And the fact is, we're a much more urban nation than the United States. You know, our biggest 3, 4, or 5 metros produce about anywhere from 25 to half of our GDP. We think of ourselves as a big kind of outdoorsy, hunting and fishing kind of go to the cottage kind of country, but in fact, we're one of the most urban places on the planet.
Big cities with big ideas is central to Florida's mission at Rutman School of Management. On this night, Calgary's Mayor Naheed Nenshi is the big talker.
How cities can be better.
His job, he says, as mayor of Canada's 4th largest city, is more about influence than power.
Power? What power? There's no power.
And that's no joke.
So take me, for example. I'm the mayor of a city that has more people in it than 5 provinces. I have exactly the same power and ability as the mayor of a hamlet of 200 people.
Does that handicap you?
Absolutely.
It's the same in Toronto, a mega city, an economic driver of the country.
We have this system where nobody can make a decision. We have 40+ councillors and a mayor. They're not just bicker at one another. No one has the right level of authority.
You're an outright liar.
You just cool your jets, Mr. Mayor.
Therefore, please stop disrupting.
No matter who's won Toronto's big prize tonight, the mayor won't have CEO status, no premier's budget, no ways to raise the big revenues big city needs to tackle big problems like affordable housing and transit. And this chair, the mayor's chair, just like all the others, there's one vote here, another vote here, and one vote for every other councillor. It's called a weak mayor's system, and it's pretty typical in much of Canada.
Takeaway, it would be very interesting.
Alan Broadbent wrote a book on giving power back to the cities. Where to start? You guessed it, with the mayor.
In places like London, England, or New York, they have a strong mayor system, and the mayors have significant powers.
Quick, think of powerful mayors. Boris Johnson, Greater London. He can set the budget. He can appoint heads for powerful city boards. And councillors, they need a big majority to overturn anything he does. Then there's Michael Bloomberg, billionaire and former mayor of New York. He had control of a city income tax, a big revenue generator, and the power to stamp bold, sometimes controversial policy on that world-class city. And talk about attracting power. Chicago persuaded this man, Rahm Emanuel, to run for the highest office in the city. And he left, wait for it, the White House to do it.
Mayor Rob Ford.
But in Canada, well, our biggest city got worldwide attention, all right.
This guy is a one-man episode of Cops.
It's bad when your defense is, I did it in a drunken stupor.
But for all the wrong reasons.
There's a video of him smoking crack.
Yep, Mayor Rob Ford, after using drugs and then lying about it, was stripped of almost all his power before he went into rehab. The city continued on, running itself, but without any leadership at the top.
One of the facts of our weak mayor system is that we can't make good decisions quickly. Now, the other thing people will say is, would you have wanted a strong mayor system during the Ford days? Well, of course, no. But the other thing is, I think it really impedes having good candidates.
But the reality goes deeper than a weak mayor's system. It's really weak municipal powers, much the same in Toronto as in other big cities. Here's the deal. When Canada got its constitution, the founding fathers divided powers in two between the federal government and the provinces. As for villages, towns, and cities, listed under provincial powers, just ahead of taverns. We haven't devolved a lot of power to cities ever since. It's not like big cities don't have big problems with big costs. What's looming? Old infrastructure, transport, and the dire need for more public housing. The argument? Mayors and city governments need to get their hands on more tax dollars.
I can't build roads, I can't build transit, I can't build up wastewater and water systems. And so we are forever going to the other orders of government, cap in hand, asking for money.
Talking money, the feds can tap into the big daddies, sales and income tax. Cities can't. Their big tax generator is property tax. Try raising that every year and see how popular you are. Here's how the public purse divides. Of all government tax revenues collected, 45% go to the federal government, 44% go to the provinces, only 11% go directly to cities. Now, let's do something very un-Canadian. Let's stop pretending that all cities are created equal. One size fits all. They're not. Yep, size matters.
If New York and London and Tokyo are the world's great megacities, 20 million plus people, Toronto, for a region of 5.5 to 6 million people, depending on how you count, is really defining this next tier of aspiring megacity. And I really think the challenge in a place like Toronto is, how does it grow from a smaller, more national, some would say even provincial kind of place, to this enormous megacity?
Alan Broadbent's got an idea. Some would even call it bold.
I think they have one hand tied behind their back, basically. I think that's the problem. Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver should have the equivalent of the powers of a province to have much more control over their destinies.
Good luck.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what's next for Canadian cities?
This century is going to be the century of knowledge, of creativity, of innovation in cities. We're going to spend hundreds of trillions of dollars building cities, and it's important we get it right. And what better place to start than an advanced, affluent country like Canada?
It may be unpopular to some, but to compete in a global world, big cities need to muscle up and be the strong man. Susan Ormiston, CBC News, Toronto.